Really appreciate no worries. Appreciate you having us again. I think we were on earlier in the year, at the beginning of the year, as I recall, doing our last update, and talked about kind of full year 2020 and what an unusual year that was. And so today we're going to share updates on what's going on in 2021 through the first half of the year. And I'm going to let Adam kind of handle the bulk of that, because he is the master and the guru of our insight report. He spends a lot of time analyzing the data, collecting the data, doing the surveys, pulling it all together and kind of telling the story. So he's going to be your featured speaker. I wanted to just give a quick BizBuySell update. So I'll take maybe 5 to 10 minutes to kind of give you guys a sense of what's going on with BizBuySell, what we're focused on. And then again, Adam will focus the bulk of the presentation on the market update. So I thought it would be helpful to continue to kind of reiterate and share some things with our broker customers about what we're trying to do and how we're focused on helping the industry. So I don't know if I've shared this broadly with this group, but we've shared it certainly with some brokers, and certainly internally, this is how we get aligned. I thought it'd be good to share just with our audience of customers about just broadly what our mission is. And if you think of it at a high level, our mission is to inspire and help entrepreneurs uncover opportunity and create value through business ownership. That's a little broad, and it's deliberately broad in that because we have a lot of stakeholders and players that come to our site to look for different solutions and information. And this kind of encapsulates what we're really trying to do. How can people get a return on business ownership? And so you build value for themselves and their families. So we really think of our, who we serve in kind of these key groups. I mean, obviously we serve buyers, and we have to always keep them at the forefront, because at the end of the day, if you build a great experience for the people who are using the site, that's what gets them to come back and gets more to come. But we also focus on owners and brokers and franchisors. These are the key kind of groups in our ecosystem. Quickly, what we're trying to do for buyers is, we're trying to be more than just pure listings. We want to, it's an involved, complicated process to buy or sell a business. So we want to meet people where they're at and provide, information and tools and resources about why and how to buy a business so that they'll actually take action. And then, of course, give them the largest inventory on the web to find opportunities. For owners, similarly, we got to meet them where they're at, and we certainly want to make sure that they know that we're the marketplace to find the broker, to list the business, to get exposure for exiting their business, but also how do they go about that process? What are the benefits of using a broker? How do I think about exit? How long in advance do I have to start? All these things. So you'll see we have a lot of content around this. We're also trying to build a funnel of owners that we can match actively with our broker customers. So that's a key part of that. For brokers, it's very simple. We want to drive more closed deals for you than any other source that you could think of, and be a leading source for new listings for brokers. We're very well known as the place to drive the buyer leads, but we're working on getting more of those seller leads to you, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. And finally, we do have franchisors who are looking to grow their systems through our platform, and we want to be the highest converting source of leads for them and power the growth of their systems. So, turning specifically to brokers now, at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do is help you sell more businesses faster at maximum value with minimum friction to help you make more money. And that's kind of what we're trying to do for brokers. So, how do we do this? Well, as a marketplace, our job is to maximize exposure and response, both for your listings, which means bringing buyers to you, but also for your services, which means bringing sellers to you. So we do that. We have great SEO and paid traffic acquisition and a network of sites to achieve that first bullet. Second is, we got to give you the tools to measure your marketing effectiveness. You got to know, like, okay, what am I paying? What kind of exposure am I getting? What kind of lead flow am I getting? And that's what we've been investing in this year, and about to roll out in the next couple of weeks some enhanced reporting around that. It's taken us a little bit longer to get all the details buttoned up, but we're about ready to push that live. We've got it in kind of late beta. then finally, we want to improve lead qualification, because we know that leads are work for brokers, so we don't want to just throw, unqualified leads your way. We want to help nurture those and qualify them and get them to you as qualified leads. So we asked when we did an NPS survey at the end of last year, beginning of this year, I think it was, how we were doing. And we asked brokers, these are broker responses, like, how would you rate BizBuySell's performance in helping you source the buyers that purchase the businesses you represent? So this isn't just lead volume. This is actually the buyers that purchase the businesses you represent. And you can see we're doing pretty good in this area. We're actually doing quite good, above average or excellent, with 65% of the responses. When we asked the question about how would you rate BizBuySell's overall performance in helping you source owners that sign new listing engagements, again, not leads, but actually sign listing engagements, here we have opportunity to improve. I mean, for some people, we're doing quite well. There's over 20-some% who say above average or excellent, and another 27% who say decent. But you can see that it's not as strong as on the buyer lead side. So this is what we're focused on this year. We are trying to build, we have thousands of owners coming to our platform every year, and we are trying to, they certainly find our broker members through the broker directory, through all the advertising and placements that we have for brokers, but we're moving towards more active matching of some of these opportunities for these folks who want to help. And here's one example, there's a number of examples here, but we're trying to find exposure points and ways on the site to make it apparent to owners that there's these great resources and brokers who can help them exit their business. We do have a self-service option. We always have had one and always will have one, because there's lots of small businesses that are just too small for brokers, or for whatever reason they want to do it on their own, or they've got their attorney helping them, or who knows. But anyway, we're trying to find ways to increase kind of how do we actively match these owners who are looking for assistance with our broker members. Our seller newsletters go out every month. We fill them with lots of broker-specific content and featured brokers. We offer content and deploy it on our platform around finding the right brokers. We also publish that content on third-party sites as well, like Inc., where we have a regular column, and Forbes as well. And again, we're taking that step now towards trying to actively match our broker members with owners. So here was a campaign that Adam ran that we sent out to a big list of owners, and we're piloting with a test group of brokers ways to get matching these owners with those brokers. So this isn't super scalable in that it involves spreadsheets and a lot of Adam's time. So we're trying to figure out how to productize this now in the product in ways that, again, more actively match. So anyway, this is stuff that's coming. Again, part of the same survey, we asked what we should be focused on, and we got a lot of great ideas in this survey that we did in the beginning of the year. These were just the top ideas. I think I shared this before, and I'm sorry if I'm redundant for those who've seen this, but as they say, when you're tired of saying it, they're starting to hear it. We're actually working on through this list, and to help us do that, this year we launched a new thing. It's the BizBuySell Broker Advisory Council. We launched it in the second quarter. We had our first meeting at the end of April, and we've had several subcommittee meetings since then. And basically what we're trying to do is meet quarterly with a variety of business broker customers of both large and small accounts, some from the franchise business brokerage groups, some independents, geographic dispersion, respected, influential, professional brokers. And we want to harness this group to help kind of inform and drive our policies, our products development, areas that need to be improved and need to be changed, or new ideas, new initiatives. So this has been really great, and I want to introduce you to the 2021 BizBuySell Broker Advisory Council. I want to thank all of these outstanding and excellent professional and respected business brokers for helping us figure out how to evolve our platform to better serve the industry. These people have all given already multiple hours of their time and are helping guide our decision-making process as we think about where to focus our limited resources. Again, I know we're part of CoStar, but we're a small team still here, and we have to be very judicious in how we're focusing our time and energy. And we're honing in on that with the help of this group. So thanks to these fine folks, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. I'm sure this council will evolve over time, and if people are interested in serving, certainly reach out to me or Adam or to Doug, who kind of leads and chairs this council. Doug's our sales director. We'd be happy to put you on that list, and we'll rotate this over time. Lastly, my last slide, then I'm going to turn over to Adam. Company profile, this is the About Us page. If you want to find this council, you can see at the bottom of this page, there is a link to it. So again, you can find it there. So I'm going to turn it over to Adam now. Adam, I've just approved your request to grab the screen. So let me see if you can advance it. Adam is our marketing director. If I don't know, you probably know a lot of people know Adam. He's out there connected with a lot of the brokers, but not only being our insight report guru extraordinaire, he leads our marketing team. He's been with the business 10 years. He knows this industry. He knows our products. So anyway, Adam, take it away.
Thanks for that, Bob. 11 years, going on 12.
11 years.
Yeah, and one of my favorite parts about this job is interacting with our broker members and learning about what's going on in the market. So what I'm going to present here is just kind of an overview of our insight report. But for those of you that are familiar with the report, it's become much more conversational in the past few years because of the great insight that I get from broker members through surveys, through interviews, and just interactions. So rather than me just kind of spew out numbers for the next 20 minutes, which I could easily do, there's no shortage of them throughout this report. I'd like to have this be a little bit more of a conversation, and I have some questions kind of riddled through some of these slides to consider. And, I'll give you the opportunity to weigh in, and I'm really excited to learn from you what you're seeing and how that matches the data that I'll present here. So for those that aren't familiar, or just as a refresher, the Insight Report is something that my team covers and creates every quarter at the end of each quarter. The data is supplied primarily by you. When brokers delete a listing on BizBuySell, they have the option to include the sales information, and the primary purpose of that is for the Insight Report. So for those of you that are taking advantage of that and contributing that data, thank you so much. It's a huge help. The more data we have, the more accurate of a report I can write in my team. I should mention, thank you, Brenda, Tim, and Ryan for contributing to the report. It's the 2 to 3 week process to put together, and you guys are just fantastic in assisting. So outside of transactions, the transactions only show us just one side of the picture, but we survey owners, buyers, and of course brokers to get a better understanding of the context for what's happening and what the numbers are showing. And it really helps us just write a better story, and it's much more interesting. And through the surveys and just brokers reaching out to me, we get a lot of unsponsored broker commentary that adds so much color and brings the report to life. So I really encourage you to read through the report, send me feedback, comments, questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. So the reason that we do this insight report is primarily to build awareness for the business for sale industry. Simply put, not enough people know that they could buy or sell a business. So we're trying to, conquer that through this report that often gets picked up by the media. We've been in the New York Times, Washington Post, CNBC, so on and so forth. We actually managed to get Bob on TV, I think last year during the height of the pandemic, which was a lot of fun. Let's see, did I lose control? There we go. The other reason we do this is to fuel your marketing. So feel free to use the data, the stats, the quotes, whatever you'd like as needed to drive awareness for your brokerage and to build your client base. Lots of great ways that you could do it. We have this example that I actually showed last quarter from We Sell Restaurants, where they do a really creative, engaging infographic to make the data come to life. So with that being said, let's go through the Q2 2021 Insight Report. It is a very long report, so I'm just working on just going over the high level pieces of it, but please do read it to learn a little bit more. So overall, we did see transactions grow 5% from the first quarter, which is great. Although they're still about 16% below pre-pandemic levels, which is Q2 2019 for reference. Digging into the numbers, we're seeing a record number of buyers. As Bob kind of referenced, brokers have no shortage of buyer leads. We're seeing that across BizBuySell. Our traffic continues to increase from buyers looking for opportunities. So there's that. What was really promising to see in Q2, restaurants and retail made a strong rebound. Of course, these are the sectors that have been most impacted by the pandemic, notably. So to see them grow positive was a really nice thing to see. And lots of great comments from owners about how their business is doing much better. Service businesses, they're remaining consistent. These guys have just been consistent through the entirety of the pandemic. I'm not sure if it's because these businesses are mostly need-based. Your car breaks down, you got to take it to a mechanic, or what, but transactions, financials, everything is pretty much flat versus Q1 and has been steady since the beginning of the pandemic. The main reason that we're still 16% below pre-pandemic levels is supply is yet to recover. There's still a large group of owners out there that need to sell their business and have the income support whatever they're going to do next, and their business is still suffering. So as these guys recover and enter the market, things are going to continue to grow. So that's the report at a high level. I'm going to dig into some of the more promising and frustrating aspects of it next. So again, the return of restaurants and retail. So this was great. So these are the two categories that led the increase in transactions. In fact, had they not grown at this rate, we would have seen transactions decline quarter over quarter. So restaurants were up 17%, which is fantastic. And they also had really great financials. You see the median sale price grew a lot, median cash flow did as well. So the hypothesis here is that the dine-in establishments that were really impacted by the pandemic that have been able to hold on, generally are higher value restaurants, have now recovered enough value that they're returning to the market. Buyers are trying to capture on the reopening, the upswing, and that's what's leading the increase in volume here. And hopefully a trend that we see continuing. Anecdotally, in the Bay Area, I mean, wait times for the more popular dine-in restaurants are, in my opinion, much greater than they were before the pandemic because people are so excited to be out. So hopefully that continues. Retail transactions up 14%, the second highest, but we're seeing lower financials there. Decline in sale price, decline in cash flow as well. And the thought there is that maybe the supply and labor shortages are starting to take a toll on this sector, maybe more than some others. So here's a quote from Alan W. Howard of Curedic Real Estate in Florida, which goes to the whole idea of these dine-in establishments now hitting the market. So when talking about prime locations, the availability of restaurants is diminishing as the country continues to open up. Many excellent opportunities have been acquired. Full-service restaurant opportunities will continue to be significant, especially in prime markets. So this is music to my ears. Again, hopefully this continues, and thank you, Alan, for contributing this great quote. Again, provides great context to this report. Unfortunately, in regards to rising costs, in our survey of owners, it seems like it's very real across really most industries. So half of owners are dealing with the labor shortage. Primarily, they're blaming the stimulus. So as that continues to dry up, hopefully workers get back to work and this becomes less of an issue. But 3/4 of people impacted by the labor shortage are having to increase wages as a result. And in often cases, that's not even working to attract employees. And in those cases, they're having to increase the wages of their existing staff as well. So it's a really just difficult process for owners to navigate. Those that can't get to full capacity are having to reduce hours, 1 in 4, which is really frustrating that they're seeing demand increase, but they don't have the infrastructure to meet that demand. So this is something that I'm hoping just cures itself as the country begins to get back to normal. Supply chain disruptions as well, they're compounding issues. Again, about half of owners are dealing with them. Higher prices plus shipping delays equals empty shelves. Again, just not having the infrastructure to support your customer demand. Anecdotally, 61% of these owners who are facing supply chain disruption have increased prices, but with varying levels of success. Some people just don't have the customer base or the product that can handle increased prices. So here's a question, and I think, maybe we could open it up for conversation after this. How do you value this scenario? So this is a person who owns a bike shop, and he says 93% of all bicycles and bike components are made in China and Taiwan. Inbound freight and ocean freight costs have more than tripled. What used to be $2,500 for a container is now $15,000, which is insane. Containers are in short supply. Goods in transport are delayed by up to 6 months. Supply chain is disrupted, and costs of goods go up. So this is from David Toma of Phantom Bikes in California, and he's currently trying to absorb these costs. So obviously, his revenue is taking a massive hit here, which is likely going to delay him from listing his business because he wants to wait for that to get more normalized. At the same time, hopefully this is a short-term deal, and as things get back to normal, his revenue will go back up to where it was in the past. So I'm just curious, brokers in the industry, how are you dealing with valuing businesses like this in this situation? And what are you seeing from your owners? If anyone wants to chime in.
And you can raise your hand if you like, or put in the Q&A. Here, Greg Kells has raised his hand here. We'll let Greg join us. Anybody else would like to use the Q&A or the chat? The chat would be a good way to communicate through this. Greg, how are you doing?
I'm good. And it's good to be on. And, I'm always glad to hear these reports. They really help us a lot.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, that's great.
I've sold a couple of bicycle shops recently, each doing around 2 million in revenue. They were smart. They could see that the supply chain disruption was coming. They ordered significant inventory in advance. As a result, they're having the best year they ever had. Parts and service are way up. I'm starting to see a little bit of shortage in parts. Okay. And this becomes an issue because it's going to take quite a while to get back to where they need to be in inventory and parts, but they've had a great year and doing well. And so, the bicycle shops that planned ahead and saw it coming are doing great. If they didn't do that, they got nothing to sell. They're sitting there with, an empty showroom, and they're short of parts, and they can't provide the service and parts and new products that people are demanding. The use of bicycles by consumers is way up. As a result, these guys are selling anything they have, and at premium prices.
Yeah, I'll add on an anecdote to that. I've been trying to buy bikes for my daughters, and it is a 2-month wait. You can't go into a bike shop and leave with a bike, just like you can't go find to an automotive dealer and leave with a car right now. And literally, you have to place the order online, and it shows up 2 months later. It's crazy.
So for owners in this situation, what's the advice? Do you just have to sit on your hands and kind of wait till supply chains get back to normal and you can have your regular inventory, regular costs, or what do you do?
Until supply chain's back, they're not saleable.
Wow.
Well, whoever buys them is going to lose their shirt over the first 6 months.
Yeah.
Kevin is commenting in the chat. Owners are suggesting we use 2017 to 2019 P&Ls to determine average SDE. Any thoughts on that, Greg?
Yeah, no, that's reasonable. I'm not disagreeing, but at the same time, like when we do a evaluation on it, we do a 5-year forecast, and that includes looking at this first year. And the cash flow's got to work for the buyer, or we can't afford to buy the business. And because of supply chain disruptions, the cash flow may not work, in which case it's not saleable.
Wow. So as a follow-up question, just something I've been curious about. So the supply chain will eventually get back to normal, at least we hope. Rising wages, it seems like something that's going to be difficult to reverse course on. So are you seeing the increased wages having, or do you think will have a long-term effect on valuations?
Not much, because prices
Okay.
are going up as well. And so, yeah, there's an increase in wages, and that's okay because it can be absorbed, providing you can get supply in order to, generate the revenue. So I'm not seeing that being the issue. One of the issues, of course, is all these government programs are keeping people at home.
Mhm.
And for most of my clients, and that's not just bicycle shops, labor shortages is a big issue that they're struggling with this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, hopefully things get back to normal. I know Emmett was saying that the most important aspect to a rebound in the economy is people just getting back to work. So, again, hopefully that starts happening.
Well, thank you, Greg. That's very, very helpful insights. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. That's
Well,
great.
thank you guys for doing this. It's very useful to us as brokers.
Good.
Greg, if you ever want to chat, reach out to me. I'd love to, interview you for one of the future reports and get your input. If interested, no pressure.
Thank you, Greg. We'll keep going. Anybody else that would like to raise their hand along the way here, but we'll keep going here.
Sounds good. Okay, I'm going to cover today's business buyers, what they're looking for, what's motivating them, who are they, and all of that good stuff. So, optimism and independence are motivating action. So here's the interesting part. We need people to get back to work, but the primary driver of buyers entering the market is that they're unhappy with their job. So while we need workers to go back to their job, they actually want to own a business. 15% are newly unemployed, which just kind of compounds that. But they're optimistic. They think that we're on an upswing, going to be entering a improved environment. And, I'm sure that every buyer in the world at any time thinks this for the most part, but they think they can get good value at a good price. The pandemic has been notably taking a toll on some businesses. So I think they assume all businesses are selling at a discount for the most part. To that last point, value is what's driving decisions. At the beginning of the pandemic, we saw buyers flocking to thriving businesses. Things like liquor stores were, selling like hotcakes just because they were doing so well. People were unemployed and they wanted things that were going to be stable, be secure. So that was the most popular acquisition type from buyers at that point. Well, now we're seeing it really decline, and buyers are more interested in owning a business that was unimpacted by the pandemic, that simply just kind of been sustainable, which is why we see service businesses for the most part being the largest portion of our reported transactions. Even further, more people would want a discounted business than a thriving business at this point. So, a question that I have, we don't have to answer it right now. We can go on for a little bit further. But for this group, is the window closing for COVID boosted businesses to sell high? Things like home repair and whatnot that people were just kind of at home and just frustrated with their house and doing whatever they could to make it a little nicer. Is that window kind of closing at this point? So with that, Max Fryer of Calder Capital LLC. Max is great. He commonly just provides great input for our insight report, and just a really good guy that I love talking to. He had this to say: businesses that have excelled during the pandemic are, of course, quite popular. However, there seems to be buyer and lender skepticism regarding outsized pandemic performance. The top performers may need to show a strong 2021 to legitimize their strong 2020. Buyers and lenders on Main Street and lower middle market businesses seem to consistently prefer steady performers, even versus stellar growth. So I thought that was really interesting, especially when it came down to lenders. And I'm curious how this affects sales going forward. So we can, if anyone wants to weigh in on that topic before I head to the outlook, we can do that now, or I'll go through the outlook and then have a conversation after. Okay, let's do the outlook. This is quick. So will supply return? Again, this is the number one thing that's holding back the market. We just need more sellers to get in the market. Buyers are there, they're ready. ready to go. So there's some statistical reason for optimism. Again, I tried to keep stats to a minimum here. I think you'll have access to the video, and you can always contact me if you want more stats. We have no shortage of them.
Or read the report online. They're chock full of stats.
Or read the report online. Definitely. So we've been tracking the percentage of owners that are operational since the beginning of the pandemic. And, you know, obviously a year ago, it was really grim. It's like 20%, somewhere around there. So in Q1, it was 65%. And now we saw another, nice chunk, 75% of owners now identify as fully operational. So we're heading in the right direction. 80% of brokers expect more sellers in the second half. I do find brokers are very optimistic in the surveys, but it's just great to see. And there's a big chunk of that number that believe it's going to be significantly more sellers. So in addition, this is another great stat to see. About twice as many owners think now is a good time to sell versus those who don't. The remaining percent, they're just not sure. But it's nice to see. I mean, these are at least stats pointing us in the right direction of, confidence and optimism in the market returning and hopefully sellers returning. But the biggest component to supply returning really comes down to what Matt Bass of Small Business Deal Advisors in Michigan has here to say. I also have to say I recently got glasses, and thank God for that, or I wouldn't be able to read any of this.
Welcome to middle-aged, Adam.
I know. It's fun. My knee hurts. So the overarching tailwind is the number of baby boomers who still own businesses. These boomers will need to sell over the next few years. Many owners wanted to navigate the pandemic, but now face a time where labor shortages are stifling further business growth and some of the fun of business ownership. For that and other reasons, older business owners will decide it's time to move on. So this has been something we've been talking about for years. Baby boomers, especially those that went through, 9/11, the pandemic, you name it, enough is enough. And it's going to get to a certain point where those, gates kind of break and that inventory just floods the market. So how'd I do on time, Bob? Did I do good there?
I think you did great.
Okay.
Really good.
All right. I tend to go on and on and on sometimes, so I'm trying to work on that. All right. So with that, questions, discussion, anything, we'll take what you got.
Yeah, we'd love to have people raise your hand, come online.
Can I stop the share, Adam?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
There we go.
So this is anonymous. I don't know. Do you think high broker fees are why some sellers are not wanting to list with brokers? You guys have any insight of thoughts on why somebody might not use a broker, or is that true, false? Any thoughts on that?
I don't know if we have a great perspective on that. Adam, you can certainly chime in. We don't hear that directly, although we do hear from brokers sometimes. Brokers will say they don't want to pay my fees. That's
exactly it. So, we've been piloting this program that Bob showed earlier where we're trying to match owners to brokers. And in many cases, there's just small businesses that it wouldn't be worth it for them to go through a broker because the broker fee, which as I understand is, like 10 or so percent or a minimum of 10 to 15,000, is just too much of a chunk of what they'd be selling their business for. This is where I'm really hopeful that Zoom ends up changing the game a little bit. So just anecdotally, I found a frame shop, and again, this was a super manual pilot. I do not want to do this pilot ever again because I was, combing through owner responses and like trying to find a broker that was a good match, and it was difficult. Anyhow, so I found an owner had a frame shop that had maybe $50,000 in revenue. And they wanted to talk to wanted to talk to a broker. They were located in Colorado. So I found a broker who had a similar business listed on our site, a frame shop, slightly more expensive. And long story short, he didn't want to work with the person because they were too far away. So, these are kind of some of the challenges that we're facing as we try and connect brokers with owners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Too far or too small or not a category that, I want to play in. So there's there's a lot of complexity there in doing this kind of active matching.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess they can, they also can go to the broker directory as well, right? And go to websites and check them out. So that's a great thing. I always want to encourage people. One thing I noticed, BizBuySell's directory comes up in the results. It's probably going to get you better results than optimizing your own site in a lot of ways. And but do check to make sure your information's up to date. I think some people don't know that they're active or sold listings are showing. Maybe you need to get those caught up and current. Just be mindful of that profile, how you look. I think that's true if I've done a webinar on brand channels, and people get to know us through different channels, well, not just our website, but through our email signature, through our voicemail, through social media, through our profiles that are everywhere. And the goal is just not to, people go, well, gosh, that's like, it started off good, and it's kind of like, I'm questioning now, or vice versa. It started great, or it starts off terrible, and it's hard to get somebody to go, if it's terrible as a starting point, it's hard to get them to go further. And it's also negative if you start with a good entry point, then it kind of diminishes. So just pay attention to how you're representing yourself through all these different things. But the BizBuySell directory being one of them.
Ron,
Ron.
that's a great point. Really quick, so when I was doing this pilot, I actually had to comb through our directory, as if I was an owner looking for a broker to help. And what I was doing? I was looking for, okay, is the profile complete? Is this person an IBBA member? That was a great, plus to show that they'd hopefully follow up with the owner. But do they have a picture? Things like that. And then also they're sold and active listings. Like, is this someone that has represented businesses like the one that I'm looking for? And these are all free and very easy things to do to update your profile on BizBuySell. We just hired a great new SEO expert who's working, hard to make these things rank even further. And get more great exposure for the directory. So please do update your profile, please.
No, it's a little thing, but I think people have to look at all these things and keep a list of them and checking them on them, at least quarterly, to say, I used one example in the webinar of, like, I had a Google Plus icon on my website for too long. The thing doesn't exist anymore. And so if somebody's coming to your website and they're like, oh, you're a marketing company, well, that's weird. Google Plus doesn't even exist. Well, that immediately kind of puts a question mark, right? Or you might want to think about whether you list a fax number on your email signature now. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying you should think about all these little things and keep a list of all these brand channels that you have, and just keep an eye on them, because they're out there representing you, and you kind of forget about them. Like, oh, I haven't changed my voicemail. I haven't listened to my voicemail in 5 years. Whatever it is. We don't do, life gets busy, and those things are important. I'm going to bring Greg back on. I think Greg, if you can unmute yourself, I think you want to make a comment or ask a question.
Actually, you mentioned that there's a increasing number of baby boomers who want to sell. And I think I'm not any different than most of the brokers across North America. About a third of the business owners that are my clients are booming. They are having the best year they ever had. They're in roofing and plumbing and kitchen renovations and bathroom and landscaping and all that kind of stuff. And their business is growing at a rapid rate. Like, they're struggling to keep up with demand right now, and they're old, and it's wearing them out. And they're looking at this and, I don't have the energy to keep running this business. It's time to sell, and the business is performing well. At the same time, I got about another third of my clients who are having the worst year they ever had. They're in anything related to personal services, whether it's pubs, restaurants, clinics, spas, barbers, shops, salons, whatever. They're hurt, and they're looking at saying, I don't have the energy to rebuild. So I'm going to sell at a discount now and take whatever I get, because I don't have the stamina to go back and spend another 3 years getting me back to where I was pre-pandemic. And I think those two factors are what are contributing to the increased number of sellers that are approaching brokers to say, hey, I think it's time.
Yeah, that's really good, Greg. And I think that's a great follow-up. Sounds like you've done quite a bit in the home services area. So to kind of Adam's earlier point, do you feel like this is like the ideal window for them to sell high? Because like,
Oh, it
how long
is.
is the demand of that kind of home improvement going to last as we get back to
Well, that's
normal?
an iffy question. And I wish I knew the answer. Just like you probably wish you knew the answer. The reality is, I know it will go for at least another year because people's habits have changed. You know, they are now much more focused on the quality of life at home than they ever were before, and they're spending more on improving that part of their life. And that's not going to stop just because the pandemic stops. That's going to carry on at least a year, maybe two, I don't know. That part of it, when you're looking at buying a business that's in that field, and you're looking at your cash flow for the next few years, if you're comfortable with the fact that it's going to carry on, and I do believe it will at least a couple of years, then you can afford to pay a premium. You know, every time when we do a deal, you end up looking at the cash flow, the debt servicing, and the relationship. And in the end, if you are confident that the cash flow's there, you can afford to pay a premium for the business. If you're not confident about that, you're not going to pay a premium. So, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder, but I believe we're good for at least a couple of years with great cash flow from all the businesses that are focused on home improvement.
Good observation. Yeah, it makes
That's
sense. So I'm trying to look through the comments here and see if there's any other.
That's just because they're going to have to wait 2 years to get the renovation done that they're on the list for.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point.
Hey, there's some truth to that.
Yeah, what
So,
are land prices
Phil made
at
a comment.
nowadays?
Yeah, exactly. Phil made a comment. Phil Wilson made a comment to follow Greg's comments. Added pending tax reform changes are a motivating factor to move forward with selling. So yeah, that's something we've heard as well. You know, what's going to happen with capital gains taxes? You know, is that motivating sellers to act now? I don't know. Any thoughts on that, Greg? Are you seeing?
Well, wait a minute. I'm in
You're in
Canada.
Canada. You're in Canada.
We're in a different environment.
Yeah.
And my comments won't be relevant to most of the folks on this call.
I think they're all relevant, but yeah, that's true.
And that'd be a good question to, and then somebody's asking about any comments, Adam, on the what you've heard from the SBA affecting the market. That might be something to include.
The CARES Act program.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, you know, it's fuel and demand. Buyers want to take advantage. The window is closing. I mean, the deal has to be closed by the end of September. So it's not, you know, just kind of like, I'm going to go out, find a business, buy it, get a loan approved, done. But we've seen that as a motivator for you know, buyers entering the market.
What about just the,
and in terms,
and there's also kind of the opposite side of the SBA just got real busy and couldn't, you know, process things as well. So that had some impact as well.
Yeah, last I heard it was like a 3 to 4 month approval process. I don't know how that's changed, but you know, we're hitting the end of that period where you can start applying.
Well, just a few, Greg, thank you for joining us again, and we'll talk to you soon, my friend. Couple of just quick questions while we wrap up, maybe just on a few things related to BizBuySell. One, this keeps coming up every quarter, but I think people are just asking, like, any thoughts or plans in the future for BizBuySell to go beyond the U.S.?
You know, we talk about that ourselves internally every year, and you know, we never it never makes the priority list of things to focus on, just because of such so much more we can do to serve the market here in the U.S. Yes, we'd love to. Yes, we should. But you know, it's just not it's not risen above the priorities for improving the platform here. You know, for our you know, our existing members. But someday.
Yeah.
And we want to. We'd love to. We'd love to be able to serve, you know, a broader range.
But I assume that you see buyers coming internationally for U.S. businesses.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, we do have those regions, but we don't have local language or currency support. You know, we can, you know, place listings into those other regions, and people from all over the world come to BizBuySell to find opportunities. A lot of foreign investment and you know, visas, buying businesses coming in to operate those businesses. So we see plenty of that.
Right.
But we don't have a lot of inventory, a lot of listing inventory outside of our kind of core North American marketplace. I see another question from Paul. Is there any benefit to auto-populating recent sales to the broker profile as sales are reported, rather than relying on the broker to select the sales to report? That's a great idea, Paul. I mean, in general, we're trying to improve your profiles. That's something that we have slated to work on a little later this year, is to just update the whole broker profile experience, the design, try to create some more differentiation around brokers who are doing deals, doing reporting deals. You know, stop limiting their. We have 5 reported sales that you can include on your profile, and that's it. That's some kind of legacy feature that just hasn't been changed in years. So we're trying to reapproach it with fresh eyes and think like, what should a broker profile have, and how do we want to help, you know, the users of our site, which are owners and buyers, find the right broker. And so we're looking at that profile, and then how we present, if you will, brokers, how we, you know, feature brokers who might have. We will, at the end of the day, we want our customers, our users, to have a great experience with the brokers they find on our platform. Therefore, we want to feature the brokers who have the most experience, are educated, are professional, and we're going to ultimately provide a good experience to those users. So we're revisiting that and thinking about how we can improve on it. So look for stuff to come there, Paul.
And then just somebody said that, you know, and this might be saying to take offline, but I thought it was interesting, just the, you guys might just have some general starting points. Where can I find resources on how to optimize a listing algorithm? Performance of our listing can be very consistent, can go a couple weeks with no leads on a listing, then 1 week have 5 leads on that listing. Is that coincidental? Aside from the premium add-ons, how can I better compete for views? Any thoughts from the two of you on that?
I'd say that's a fantastic and timely question. We're working on putting on a what we're calling our Broker Growth Summit, which is going to be focused on better marketing, not just on BizBuySell, but, you know, on the website or on the web in general. So stay tuned for invites for that. We're looking at the second half of August. But, you know, we have a great CS team here that, you know, you can always reach out to and, you know, get help on your account specifically. We have a few videos that cover creating a great listing and whatnot. So I don't know, Bob, you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, I think this new reporting we're going to roll out here shortly that I mentioned earlier is going to help. You'll get better visibility. And remember that leads are hit or miss. I mean, don't measure everything by leads. Lead means somebody, you know, they found the right fit. You found somebody who, like, you know, I could see myself owning that business. And so leads have always been, sometimes you get them and then other times you won't. And you can't measure it solely based on leads. Look at your exposures, look at your impressions. And this new reporting will make it very clear, like, okay, here's how often I'm appearing. Here's how often people are actually getting to my actual listing and looking at the full detail. And then, you know, I can, you know, see that, okay, people are seeing it, but they're not responding. What about my listing is causing them to not respond? Usually it's because, you know, support, there's not good content in there, or maybe you've spilled the beans and there's no reason to reach out because they've been able to disqualify themselves as I don't want this business too quickly. You want to provide enough to entice them, but you know, not too much. If it's too thin, people are like, you know, doesn't feel real. So, you know, photos, you know, even good stock photos, good listing titles. Remember, people, it's all the same stuff you do with SEO, like what's going to cause somebody to click, you know, some compelling title, a nice image, you know, financials. So many people don't include the financials; they just have a price, or they might just list one financial point. And a lot of buyers aren't as sophisticated, maybe to know that, you know, and they're looking for an asking price or something to give them a sense. So it's all those things. And again, the broker growth segment that Adam mentioned will hopefully cover a lot of these kind of marketing best practices.
Yeah.
And one tip that I've been working on broker education, and one tip that I'm trying to get more brokers to be aware of and use is that, you know, for certain membership levels, if you're premium, if you're elite, you get a showcase plus email credit every month, which you can use to elevate a listing to the top of search results. You get a buyer blast, all these great things. And there's a shockingly, you know, high number of brokers that don't use that credit. So, you know, take a look at your account. If you have one available, start using that every month. It does replenish. But that's a great way to just, you know, get a boost throughout the month.
Yeah, we, you know, we're, how old is BizBuySell? What,
25 years.
25. I was gonna say 25, and I was like, man, that made me feel old. I remember my dad and I knew the founder, Bill Miller, who met in South Carolina. That feels not like 25 years ago. So it, but so 25 years, and you know, my dad always taught the art of writing a 3 to 4 line newspaper ad for buyers. And the idea was to get your phone to ring. So we really taught in our industry, we taught the art of advertising. And when the BizBuySells of the world came around, I don't think we have ever really stopped long enough to say, what is the strategy now? How do we do marketing? And I think we went from pretty good at writing those 3 to 4 line newspaper ads, and we have not transferred that into what we do online. And I don't think we use outside professionals like copywriters and marketing companies to better serve ourselves. And you know, there's people out there that this is what they do, and it would be a great benefit to you. And I think we owe it to our sellers, if we're not good ourselves, not just a copy and paste part of the executive summary or CBR into an advertisement. Advertising is a different thing than just, you know, what they're going to see after they get exposed to the business. So, you know, I think there's an art to it, and I don't think that we pause long enough to think about how we're doing it. We've got Ed Pendarvis. I'm going to end with Ed. I know we're at our time, but I can't not let Ed come on if he wants to. So
I was hoping this was going to happen.
Ed is the founder of Sunbelt Business Brokers, good friend of the industry, good friend of our family. Ed, how are you today, my friend?
Good friend of ours too.
Absolutely. A friend of BizBuySell for sure.
Can you hear me all right?
We can. Yes, sir.
All right, well, good to be. I've learned a lot. Listen to you. I always listen to Greg too and learn from him. And just want to tell you what appreciate the job y'all all do. And we're working on some things too to help get small business administration a little more focused on actually getting people to buy existing businesses and understand that process. And quite frankly, I think we're finally making some headway. We'll see. But talk about business brokers in a tough time like we got with this pandemic, the only thing I always leave you with is early to bed, early to rise, work like hell and advertise. If you get that done, you'll stay in business and keep them going. Build relationships with the buyer and the seller and put the deal together. Put the relationship together first and then put the deal together and then hold it together and get it closed. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for all y'all do. Appreciate it. Proud of you.
Thank you, Ed. I don't think any of us are going to top that. So,
Did you write that little jingle down, Adam? We got to use that.
I was going to say, I'm glad this is recorded because, yeah, I'm going to.
I'm not going to give you the recording now. We're not going to make this one available. I'm going to do some trademarking first. But no, Ed, thank you so much. Ed, so good to hear from you. Ed's he doesn't know this. I'm going to disable him first, but I'm going to make sure he does a webinar for us next season. He is just, I mean, he's just been around a long time and been such a he's the heart and soul of our industry. And he says things so well, like he just did. So Hey, we really appreciate this. This is always fun to bring the industry together to share information. I'll leave with this, and if you guys have any final thoughts as well, but this is such important information. The one thing I think we probably don't do a great job of is giving this information to business owners. So it's our job as business brokers, business advisors, M&A professionals to take these reports. I mean, BizBuySell, this is an amazing report. IBBA does the market polls. This is information that business owners should have. And this is easy content, whether you do webinars or videos or blog posts. This is easy. Don't make your life more complicated. This is like, here's the content. You just have to regurgitate it in whatever form you want to do. And that's going to help our whole industry. It's going to inform business owners, and it's going to make you look like the trusted professional, which is really what you're trying to do. So use this information. Don't just watch this, but go get the full report, dissect it, give it to your copywriter or the person that does your videos, or maybe that's yourself. But let's get the information out there. It's helpful, and we really appreciate that you guys do this for our industry. Thanks for the update on BizBuySell. We will see you guys next season sometime in probably October, November, December, somewhere in there, and when you have your next report. But thanks for everything you're doing, and if anybody has further questions, reach out to Adam or Bob and get in touch with them personally and talk to their team. Appreciate everybody joining us today. This video will be available along with slides by the end of the day, so you can re-watch this and pass it around, send out the links so other people are aware of the webinar and the resources that were provided. We will be back. The final webinar for this season is next Tuesday. Glenn Cooper talking about CVRs, SIMs, offering summaries. Watch part 1 and 2 before, and we appreciate everything that you guys do. Appreciate this industry. This is very much a family to us, and we appreciate you taking the afternoon with us. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Have a great weekend and a great rest of your week. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Ron.
Ron. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.